Hi everyone, hi dancers, and welcome to the world of air dance. Now I am really happy that I am now part of this amazing project, because with the situation that we're living in at the moment, one of the best ways of getting the expertise, information, staying at home is on this format, AirDance, because with the COVID, many people are stuck in their countries and they can't get out to get this information. So it's a great pleasure to actually be in your studio or be in your house. Now today is going to be a lesson in my house, not in my studio. Later on, maybe in the next lessons we'll go into the studio, but today we're going to be in the house. Why? Because all the information that I have studied for the past, like say 54 years, is all in here, and it gives me great energy. I've got all my books on the dancing and all the experience that has been collected in all the years. I'm going hopefully to give you in the next lessons. So what are we going to do today? We're not going to be dancing. That's one thing today. Not dance. So if you are on your feet, if you want, sit down, open your eyes, open your ears, but the main thing is open your mind. Okay, so we're going to start here. I wrote so many things down for you, so you can maybe do a screenshot, or maybe I will send you a screenshot of what we're going to do. Now, why details make a difference. Now, before we actually do this, a detail. Many of you, if you're very young dancers, you might not know who I am, okay? Apart from my name is Carolyn Smith, from Scotland, and I have been dancing since I was 4 years old. This year, in a couple of months, I will be 60 years old. But in my heart and in my body and everything, it's like 20 years old. Now, what have I done in the dancing? Well, I'm not going to tell you my results, because I'm really not interested in that. What I am interested in is what I have developed in the world. Now, just to pop a few names of people studied and I have coached since they were young kids. You might know them, okay? Stefano Di Filippo, Nino Langella, Anna Melnikova, Nina Bezubova, Marius Balan, Martino Zanibellato, Elisa Nazato. There are many of them, okay? But the thing that I like is when I am coaching and training people is to make them become very special and iconic. Now, what does that mean? Iconic. When someone becomes an icon, it's something that you remembered for something, that you are brilliant in something, or you do something that people can actually remember, okay? And that is my speciality, is getting the details out in many people. Now, I'm just going to run down the list a little bit, okay? So we've got over who I am, okay? Which is not really important, okay? It's what I can do for you which is important, okay? Now, I am a believer, okay? Now, what does that mean? I believe in every student, every dancer who comes to me and asks for help, okay? Now, what I try to do is, it's not just a normal basic lesson. That's the easy part. The hard part is understanding who you have in front of you, okay? Every single dancer, whether it is a beginner or whether it is a world champion, it doesn't matter. But everyone is totally individual, okay? They are unique. Unfortunately, many dancers don't believe they are unique. And do not like in our dance world is, and this is for many years I have been fighting against, made a lot of enemies, I'm sure, but I really don't care, because I know I can make a very good dancer become a brilliant dancer, is the fact that people are unique and train for many years to become normal and the same as many other dancers. This is one of the worst things in our dance business, okay? Why do you have to start off by being unique and then you become the same as everyone else? That for me is called in English bullshit, okay? This we don't want, okay? So, I am a believer, I believe in everything, and also here, I put this on specially for today, born to win, because I win at everything, okay? And that is not just saying it, it's a fact, okay? Now, the question is, are you a believer? Now, think about it. Really, really think about it. Are you a believer? It's easy to say, I want to become this, I want to become that, but do you really believe that you can? Well, if you were physically in front of you, I will believe you, and I will give you a way of making that happen, okay? But there is many things that you have to work on, okay? So, this is another thing I have heard for so many years. Be an icon, okay? Now, we have many icons. Now, it depends on what age you are. If you're very young, I'm sure your icons are the dancers of today, okay? And I am not going against any icons of today. But if we talk about real icons, we have to go back quite a few years, which means these people are remembered for years and years and years. And even after they are not here, they are still remembered. That way you can say, I'm an icon, okay? Or you're an icon. So, start thinking about it. Are you a believer? Do you want to become an icon? Now, it is so easy to say, but it's not easy to do. So many people say, I want to become an icon. Yeah, well, you have to do one hell of a lot of work to become an icon. You don't just snap your fingers and it becomes. There is a lot of work about it. And it's not just by dancing every single day. Now, I am not saying you should stop dancing, you should not be dancing, but you should have time to sit down and think, study, research, and write about what do I want to do to become an icon. So we're going to be touching all these details, okay? It's something very important. Now, I'll give you the first question. Apart from, do you want to be an icon? Do you want to be a brilliant dancer? Do you want to be a champion? Now, I'm sure many of you are brilliant dancers. And I'm sure there are many champions actually watching this lesson today. But that is completely different from being an icon, okay? An icon doesn't have to be a champion. He doesn't have to be a brilliant dancer, but he has to be brilliant by doing something, okay? So, think about it. Where are you at the present moment? Are you an icon? Are you a brilliant dancer? Are you a champion? Already try to find out who I am, okay? Then, is it possible to become an icon? Of course it's possible. But not just by saying it. Like I said, I will be repeating myself many times, because to become a brilliant dancer, a champion, or an icon, you have to hear things, the same thing over and over again, until one day it just goes click, pops into the brain, comes out of the body, and things start to change, okay? Now, one thing I did not say, which is quite obvious because this is the first lesson, but for the next lesson, if you can manage to get pen and paper and write things down, because you have a lot of things to work on for the third lesson. So the first and second lesson, I'm going to be talking, Yes, I will be talking. And many dancers think, oh shit, why is she talking? You have to stop and listen for a little while. It's not just the fact of dancing, okay? There is many, many aspects of dancing, and some of it is sitting down and thinking, talking, researching, and doing things that many times you just don't do, okay? So, be an icon, easy to say, not easy to do. Well, the thing is that if you do have all the tools to become an icon, it's not that hard. It's not easy, but it's not that hard. It's just a little bit out of your comfort zone, okay? And that's the only place where you can start to find yourself is by going outside your comfort zone. I know it's a pain in the ass to go out the comfort zone, but that's the only way you can start to discover who you really are, okay? Not staying in your house. Like today, I'm in my comfort zone, but am I? Not really, because yes, I'm in my house, but I'm in the studio with you. I'm in your home with you. I am out of my comfort zone because I'm hoping that some of you are really going to listen to what I'm saying to become an icon, okay? So, be an icon, easy to say, not easy to do. You can do it. Is it possible? Of course you can do it, okay? Now, this is some of the questions you're going to have to start thinking about. If you have the possibility to write it down. If not, memorize it and then think about it, okay? How am I going to become an icon? Why am I going to become an icon? What type of icon? Who? Okay? And when is it all going to happen? Now, I'm not going to give you the answer at the moment because for every single person, because you are all individual, okay, you will have different answers to the same questions. Now, is this correct? Of course it's correct. Not everyone has the same answer because not everyone is the same. Not everyone has got the same mentality, but you have to think about it. So I'm going to repeat it again. Is it possible to become an icon? Yes, of course it is. You can. You can. Believe it. You can. Okay? If you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it, apart from me. Yes, it's possible to become an icon. So how are we going to become an icon? Why? Very, very important word, why, which I say quite often to the couples, okay? Forget this, why. Why do you want to become an icon? An icon? Who am I? Who am I going to be? And when is all this going to happen, okay? So, this is the part where a lot of dancers think, oh, no, we can't stop dancing. Oh, of course you can stop dancing for a little while. Stop dancing, start thinking. You think with your brain, you use your imagination, you have an idea, try to develop it, okay? Stop saying yes and use your natural resources and brain. Well, just to be on the safe side, I know this might be a little bit funny, but the brain is in this area here that some people forget to switch on and some people really do forget they do have a brain. Why? Because they keep saying yes, yes, yes to every teacher that they have in front of them, which is correct to a certain degree because you have respect for your teachers. But if you say yes and your body's saying no, well, you are in conflict, not your teacher. You're going to have the problem, not the teacher. And I've just said a word that I never say, problem. Problem has to be eliminated. It's a situation. Okay. Now, I'm going to start to elaborate a few things. With the lockdown, we were all told to stay at home. Okay. And many of us, unfortunately me, no, had nothing to do. I've always got something to do. But I did take time to have a look at so many videos that you find on Facebook, YouTube, and on Instagram. And it was a moment where I actually stopped and looked and not just keep flicking through. And there were some amazing dancers out there. and there was some really top couples out there who I was just so disappointed in. I'm not going to name any names because that is not correct, but I have this philosophy that dancers, other than becoming great dancers, champions and icons, they have the responsibility of passing down information to the younger couples, the new generation, okay? And if that doesn't happen, then our dance world will start to go even further down than it's going at the present moment. We have the responsibility to keep up the standards, to keep up the passion, to keep up the mission, to keep up the motivation of going on with a dance career. Okay, now, like I said, I don't want to criticize everyone, but there is a few things that I just don't like. One thing is when I see some really great talented dancers, young, and I don't actually have to do research which studio they come from or which teacher they have. They are a photocopy of their teacher. They have the same style, the same movements, the same attitude, the same, how can I say, features, the same jesting. And I'm saying, why? Why do you have to copy? Now, I can understand being infatuated with your teacher, okay? But that is taking something away from yourself. You believe in yourself, your ability to do something. Even if you're a young dancer, it doesn't matter, you still got a lot to learn, and you do have to pick your teacher's brain the whole time and get as much information, but try not to copy, because you are copying something that maybe was already copied, which means it becomes very fragile, okay? And then it would be literally impossible to become an icon. Why? Because icons are different. No icon in the dance world is the same. No icon in the cinema or in the music, in sport, no one is the same. So you have to, one, really believe in yourselves, okay? Dig inside your own body and say, what type of dancer do I want to be? Is it classical? Is it funky, crazy, jazzy, technical? Is it going to be artistic? Is it going to be rhythmical? Find out where you have the excellence and where your passion sends you. Now, all dancers have to know 360 degrees about everything in the dancing. That's 100%. But not everyone is brilliant in technique, but maybe brilliant in rhythms. Maybe someone is very, very artistic and someone is very classical, very technical. But you have to know a little bit about everything and push exactly where your heart beats, the desire to do something. Now, on one hand, I'll be telling you to do your practice. You need to know so much information on your basic technique, your rhythms, your connections, your coordination. There is so many technical aspects you have to be good at. And then you just have to find out where you excel in, okay? And then on the other side, you have to develop what's inside you, okay? So you have your tools and rules and regulations on one side where you are obliged to learn it. It's like when everyone goes to school. We go to kindergarten first, then we go to primary school, then we go to the middle school, then we go to the superior school. Now, we have an obligation. We have to learn certain things, which is your language and your numbers. You can't do anything in this world without knowing a language and how it functions and numbers. After that, if you want to develop something else, great, but you can't live without these two things, which is exactly the same in the dancing. So what is your language? Which is your technique? your technique of your steps. I call it my ABCs. It's the alphabet of the dancing. If you don't know your alphabet, how can you dance to your full? Okay, and then it's all the fact of becoming iconic. The same with the timings, your numbers. You have to know your basic numbers, your timing, your rhythms, okay? And then once you have that into your body, then you can start to develop. And I'll be giving you so many exercises that I gave to many, many people when they were younger, how to develop that. Then they start to explore a little bit more, and then you can find something different to do. I remember many, many years ago when Slavic was not in my studio. Slavic was under me when he was dancing with Anna Mennikova, but I remember we were in Assen, and I gave everyone during my lecture an exercise to do with rhythms. And I'm telling you, it was so funny because two people were really stuck. Now I could understand, well, not really I could understand, but Slavic had never been trained by me, so it was a little bit hard to understand what I actually wanted. But there was another boy who studied with me since he was a young boy, which was Ricardo, and we were trying to get out of a basic system of counting basic steps in samba. So you have, like say, a whisk, which you have 1, a 2. Okay, so you got your 3/4, quarter 1. Then I started to write down timings. As if you've done, maybe most of you wouldn't even know what a football coupon is, but it's a piece of paper where you have boxes and you just put X's on. So I have to do a basic timing of a whisk. I would put an X on, I would put an X on the A, and then I would put an X on the 2. Okay, so that was 3 steps, 3 crosses. Okay, now what I done was I put 3 crosses somewhere else that we are not normally able to dance. And it's quite hard on the brain. It's not that hard on the body. It's very hard on the brain to do something because we get into a comfort zone. We are used to doing 3/4, quarter 1, okay? Now, once we started to develop that, they both came saying, wow, this is super, because I didn't know we could do. I said, yeah, I know that because our institution of the dancing always says you have to have your technique and your timing correct. Yes, learn it 100%. You have to know how to do a forward walk technically correct. But can we do it somewhere else in another way? Of course we can, but we have to know home is, which is the comfort zone, exactly your technique, what we do with the feet, what we do with the legs, the hips, and then what we do with our timing, your basic timing. And yeah, we can literally throw it all out the window and start to develop it. That's when you start to discovering something is, wow, we didn't know we could do that. Well, yeah, you can start to discover. Now, when I started to develop this, let's say, method, I get bored quite easily, which means if I have a day off, I get bored. I have to do something. And like I said, it was many, many years ago when Stefano Di Filippo was dancing with Sara Magnanelli. We had 1 day holiday here in my house. And I said, kids, I can't just stand there and do nothing. We had to go into the studio, and we started to develop this method of changing the timings. And once we started, I think we were in the studio, without exaggerating, 7-8 hours, okay? But with everything that we developed, that is when we really developed Stefano Di Filippo's style. How good is he on rhythms? Now that happened, he already knew his rules and regulations because he started with me when he was like, say, 11 years old. So he knows all the rules and regulations. And then I just gave him the pleasure of just break everything. Let's do something crazy. Let's go out of the system. And that's when we started to discover other ways of doing things. Now, this is what I want all the dancers to do. I don't want anyone to become the same as someone else. And this, I am very, very proud of how I have brought up my students to be individuals. If you take the women who have worked with me, and really intensely, if we take Anna Mennikova, we take Ina, we take Nino Bezubova, okay? Now, they are all totally different, but they were all coached by me. They all got exactly the same information, but we developed it in a different way because every woman has a different way of doing something, a different vision, a different approach. Some are more, some are a little bit more courageous, but it doesn't matter. I helped to push it to go in where they felt that they had to go. There was not a, no, you can't do this. This is what I'm saying. Stop just saying yes to everything. You should, instead of saying no to your teacher, which is the wrong thing. I done when I was a kid, I just kept saying no because I wanted to do something different. Then I learned that that was the wrong word. The word that you should be actually saying is, why should I be doing it this way? Now, if we're talking about technique, you have to learn it. But then, why can't I do it in another way? That's the only way that we can start to push our individual style, our signature. That's something very, very important. Everyone's signature is not the same. Everyone's got a different name and a different way of signing. Well, when people are dancing, everyone should have their own way of dancing, okay? And if you think about it, it's a little bit weird, but everyone really does the same steps. Everyone's got forward walks, back, side, close, spin, whatever. But everyone does it in a different way. So this is why I'm saying we have to push the fact of not copying your idol or not copying your teacher, not copying someone who's next to you. Who says you can't be the next icon? Has anyone thought that they could actually maybe one day be better than their teacher? Yeah, it can happen. It's happened in the past. Okay, if you really, really have the passion to become an iconic dancer, you have to push it. So to do that, you have to open your mind. Okay, learn the rules and regulations, your ABCs, your numbers. Okay, and then start to develop what you can actually do with it. Okay, so let's come back again. Are you a believer? You have to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe, other people are not going to believe it. Okay, you have to stick to your guns, always learn. If someone says to you, you're making a mistake, okay, and maybe that mistake is a big mistake, and then someone else says it's a mistake, and another, it's an error, okay, then it has to be changed. But if you're doing something a little bit different, which is a little bit more interesting, and someone says, no, you can't do that, you have to say why. And then you have to understand how can you develop it and make it brilliant. Now, I'll give you an example. I always use this in the lessons. Everyone's got a signature step or a signature move, a signature way of doing something, okay? Now, Stefano Di Filippo has a step in jive, okay? Everyone knows it. He turns around, grabs a hold of the girl stays there and waits, and Stefano holds on and starts doing his step, okay? Now, that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my dance studio. It wasn't Stefano who invented the step, it was me. Why? Because in my studio, someone stupidly put down talcum on my parquet floor, which no one should put down talc or oil on my floor. And I was dancing with Anna, and we were trying to find something a little bit different, and I was trying to do a step, turned round, started to fall. Anna grabbed a hold of me. I grabbed Anna. I was completely overbalanced, and I started to do that, and I went, yes, no, who put down the talc? And then Stefano said, oh my God, I want to learn this. So it was a mistake. but one of the best mistakes ever. And this is one thing I've actually wrote down here. Mistakes can be your fortune. Okay, that's going to be, we'll talk about that on the next lesson. Your mistakes can be your fortune. Okay, another thing, Nina Bezubova could never stay on balance with a turn. And every single time she comes out of a turn, she was always totally off balance. Her left arm would swing round her body, and it was technically wrong. And then it got to the point where nothing was happening. So what did I do? This is part of her style now. She learned to keep balance on an overbalance. She learned to, by over-rotating her arm, make it look so chic, funky, jazzy, a little bit like Bob Fosse, and that became one of her signature movements. So, not becoming an icon or becoming a brilliant dancer, when you've got your signature step, it doesn't mean to say you have to do everything perfectly. No, you have to make the mistake. I'm a great believer that when people are doing choreography, I always say, go with the fluidity of the music. If something happens, I don't give a shit. Keep going. Just keep going, because your body knows better than your mind, because the dancers don't use their brains enough, okay? And you just flow into something, and I always video everything in the studio. And if something really comes out great, it's captured in the video, and that becomes part of their choreography. Because sometimes we think we know what we can do, and sometimes it just doesn't function. Whereas if you just allow the body to flow, sometimes, and most of the time, your body understands exactly where to go, and something unique comes out of that situation. So that's something that you have to remember. Now, another thing, I have been watching a lot of the videos on the AirDance app, and the information given is absolutely fantastic. Now, what do you actually have to do with that information is capture it. Now, catch it. Capture, catch it. Not copy it. Okay, I saw the other day there with Michael Malitowski. He's so funny. And he started doing all this really freaky stuff, okay? But that's the way Michael is freaky. Now, you might be freaking out somewhere in another moment, in another way. Be freaky, but be it in your way. The same with Joanna. She was doing something really, really free, letting her body go. Yes, capture that moment, but do it in your own way. Because I then see some people just really trying to copy something which is natural for someone and unnatural for you. Now, you just have to take it under your wings, okay? Get it into your feet, into your mind, into your soul, and just allow your body to go. When there's a moment where you have to just let everything go, just let it go, because that's when you start to discover something is going amazingly well. Another video I saw, and this I will name drop because it's got nothing to do with me. They were Slavic together with Carolyn, okay? And they were doing samba with the body rhythm, okay? And I was really freaking out because Slavic is Slavic. Tell me someone who can copy Slavic. Zero. No one can and no one should, because there is one only, and he's an icon, and he wasn't a professional world champion. This is what I'm saying. There's a difference between a champion, brilliant dancer, and an icon. Slavic is an icon, okay? Now, as an amateur, he's got his world titles, everything. But as a pro, he should have been there. He should have been a world champion. But at the end of the day, who cares? Because remember, him as a dancer, him as being special, different ways of moving his body. He's unique. I remember when he was in the studio, it was so funny. I said, God, I could get my telecommand out. I'm saying, move this, move that, and he moves everything. Because he is highly, highly educated. And I can say that for very, very few dancers in the world being highly educated. Now, he is highly educated. And then we have Carolyn, very good dancer, still got a lot to learn, but he tried to copy Slavic. Well, that's never going to happen. And the thing is, if he'd done it in his own way, I'm sure he would have made it unique, because Carolyn has a very, very strong personality. But trying to copy an icon is, for me, a failure. Okay, this is not good. Get the idea. Remember, capture it, catch it, don't copy it. So that's 2 C's, okay, 1 C, no okay. Okay, so you have to really, really, really start to develop the mind, and don't be afraid of literally stopping, sitting down and start to research. Okay, now, has anyone actually thought about the icons from another time? Let's go back a little bit. We've got, for me, iconic is from the amateurs. We have Stefano De Filippo with Anna Mendikova. For me, that was the last iconic couple in the amateurs. After that, everyone was good, but there's a question mark, okay? If we talk about the professionals, we have to go back a lot. Now, I do not want to offend anyone, because I've already been offended a little while ago. Actually, it was in Poland when I said that one couple for me was not iconic. But seeing the couple who was in front of me, who was a very young couple, they didn't even know who was the icons before. With my age, iconics mean, we're talking about Brian Watson, Alan Tornsberg, Paul Killick, Donnie Burns. These are the icons where have an individual style, where no one is copying anyone. Everyone developed their own ability. Now, not everyone is brilliant dancers, okay? Some are lacking a little bit in technique, but they had enough to go further forward. But they were specializing in something, okay? Now, who is your icons? And think about these iconic dancers. Where did they get their inspiration, apart from they already had their own inspiration? But where did they do their research? Have you ever thought about that? No. If there's anyone watching who has studied with me, you already have my playlist. You already have a list of things where you should be researching. Okay? This is so important of getting culture. Because unfortunately, the dancers today dance, 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 and if you ask them a question, they get no clue of exactly what they're doing, where it came from, why are they doing it, because it was just taught or just copied. Okay, now you should be researching on YouTube, okay, or even asking questions to your teachers, not just receiving the information. Ask questions. And this is where I'm really tough. If your teacher can't answer what you ask the question, well, there's a problem somewhere. There might be a problem with some culture somewhere, okay? So you have to get the culture. You have to get the information. You have to have 360 degrees of an idea. What is an iconic dancer doing? Now, does anyone know Bob Fosse? Does anyone see his films? Do you know what he actually does? Who his pupils are? Do you know his style? Now, I'm only mentioning one person at the moment because it's one person who has changed so much of our dance world that many people don't even know. Okay, you have to get back to people like me or people who have studied and know exactly who these people are, and you can see it within the style. You have to know who developed the dancing, not just the people in the dance world, but you have to also know where they got the information. Now, I'll give you another piece of information which happened in the studio with Ina. Ina, I must admit, is one of the best women I have ever had in the studio. She was a very, very young girl, and she was dancing with an Italian boy. And she was the only girl who would come in with a piece of paper, actually, with a big, big book. And she would ask me at least 20 questions to start the lesson, okay, which was great because she was one of the only girls who actually listened to me. And she always tried to develop everything. Very, very fanatic on the technique, but very fanatic also to develop everything. Then she lost this boy and she changed a few partners. And I remember one year at Blackpool, she was dancing with someone. I think it was like not a very good result, but she was a brilliant dancer. And I said to her, I said, just keep going. Keep believing in yourself, because you will become a world champion. And she said, no, it's not going to happen. I said, you will become a world champion. I have never, ever made a mistake in my career. I make many mistakes, but when I say someone is going to be a world champion, I have never, ever, ever made a mistake. And after a few years, Ina became world champion, and she sent me a message, and she said, thank you for believing. And I says, no, don't thank me. You've got to thank yourself that you listened to me to believe in yourself. So the mind is a very, very, very powerful thing, okay? You have to believe, but you have to study. And studying means also sitting down and preparing. Sitting down and studying. Sitting down and researching on internet. Now, everyone has a smartphone, and I honestly say smartphones for stupid people, which are dancers, because you don't use a smartphone smartly. You have all the information there. All you have to do is type in something on your internet, okay, and you will find the information. In my days, we didn't have internet. We had barely videotapes. VHS, okay, or my father used to have a Super 8, not like how we're doing streaming at the moment, okay, a Super 8 film. We had to wait for 1 month to check if the practice went well, okay. So, but the thing is, we were more hungry than you, because we didn't have everything at the tip of our fingers. And the thing is, you should take this opportunity that you can get all this information, just like this, and then you have to work hard and hard and hard to develop your dancing. Now, very, very quickly, I'm going to say everything here again. You're going to have to listen to it, okay? So, I am a believer, and I believe you can do it, okay? But you have to start to believing it. Be an icon, easy to say, not easy to do. Yes, it's easy to say, but it's not hard to do. You just have to do it. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. You can become an icon, but you have to do the work. Okay? How, why, what, who, when. I already gave you twice the information there. Okay? And remember, stop dancing for a little while. Okay? That doesn't mean to say stop dancing the whole day. Okay? Just maybe an hour, 2 hours, whatever, which has to be extra to your normal practice. Okay? Start thinking more, and remember the brain's in this area here. We have to switch on. Okay? And then stop saying yes to everything, even when your mind and your body saying no, no. Ask why. Don't use the word no. Just say, why should I have to do it? And then use your natural resources and your brain. If you start to use everything that you already have, you can become an icon. Okay? So in the next lesson, I'm still going to be talking. You're still going to be sitting down, trying to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down. Don't write it down with your smartphone. Write it down. Because when someone writes something down, it remains here. Okay? It's something that's very primitive. I know it's very primitive. But dancing has developed. But it's one of the only trades that we can do that you still have to do exactly the same way as before. You physically have to dance. You physically have to move. And you have to use your brain. Okay? So, let's see in a few minutes, and we will get into the second lesson. Okay? So, see you guys later. Bye.